Maybe you thought it was too hard. Maybe you thought the subject was something only for smart people, or you thought that you weren't doing too good, or maybe you thought it was too difficult and it just wasn't for you. These are all very surface level reasons. And today we're going to go into 4 main reasons why people put down their instrument and stop learning music. These are 4 that I've personally found within myself and in observing students that have come my way, that have studied with me or some of the other instructors around me and kind of kept going. These are the 4 that I think are the main reasons why people put down their instrument for extended periods of time. The first reason, the very first reason, and also before I begin, make sure to watch the whole video. Each of these reasons goes kind of in connection with each other. So the first reason is connected to the second, and so on and so on. And so make sure to watch the whole video. So this very first reason is practice. Practice is something that's very interesting to me when it comes to music, because in a lot of cases people are forced to practice. This puts the student in a very weird kind of mindset. Probably the majority of students that I had come my way would not practice, and I myself, for a good amount of time, would not practice. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting phenomenon because we all start really excited and really wanting to learn violin, piano, guitar, trumpet, voice, whatever the case may be. And at some point, I guess, we might meet some subject or song and kind of realize that maybe this is something that is a little bit more difficult than I thought it was. And once we kind of realize that learning is a process and it requires attention, then our willingness to tackle the subject, to learn the subject, it goes down and down and down. And at that point, something very, very interesting happens. Because once the student themselves doesn't want to learn the subject, then that's kind of when the outside influences take over. The parents or the teachers, mostly the parents and the teachers, they come and they try to push the student through the subject and say, you got to learn music. Or with other subjects, you got to learn math, or you got to learn whatever. And this has a very bad effect on the student. In this kind of scenario, where the student doesn't want to learn the subject and it's just the parents and teachers forcing them, the scene is that, once again, the parents and teachers forcing them and the student's kind of just going along to get along at this point, then the student is really just dragging their feet. For parents, the parents are wasting their money with the lessons because the student doesn't want to learn. The student is checked out. The student is gone. And if the parents and teachers force the student through the subject, through music, then this unwillingness that the student has, it just continues to grow. The more and more the parents and the teachers, and the longer the parents and the teachers force the student through the subject, and this unwillingness actually grows and it bleeds into other areas of life until the student really doesn't want to do anything. This is a very big problem, not only with music, but just in learning and subjects and really life in general. I learned this from a very eye-opening and powerful life improvement course called Personal Values and Integrity. I have it here. Here's all my papers to prove that I did it. Very powerful, very eye-opening. And it's not a paid plug, but this is definitely something worth the plug. This was a fantastic course that I did. It was crazy. And so unwillingness to practice is the first main reason that we quit. But why does this unwillingness kind of build up? What is the reason behind this reason? And that's our second reason that we're going to go into. Where did all of this kind of interest in playing and learning the subject go? Did it just fizzle out, as some people think? Because, you start a new subject, you start a new task, you start learning something new, and you're like, all of a sudden, I really don't feel like, all the excitement is gone. And so what happened? What took place? Was it that the new subject was too difficult? It's possible, but it's not really the case. Nothing is really difficult because everything can be simplified down to a simple level that one can grasp and understand, and then they can keep going and going and going. The second reason that we quit music, or why we quit music, is due to something very light and usually unnoticeable. To start this reason off, I'm going to give an example that will kind of show you what I mean. So let's say you're reading a book and you're really into it and you're really flying through the pages and everything's cool and you're really understanding what the character is going through. If it's fiction, if it's nonfiction, you're really tracking and you're really understanding what the writer, what the author is talking about, and you're really into it. And then all of a sudden you're reading the paragraph and then this word shows up, which is, for a music example, we're going to use the word tenuto. So you're reading your paragraph and tenuto comes up and you're like, what does tenuto mean? What's going on here? I don't know what tenuto is. What is tenuto? And you read it and you're not sure what it is, so you keep on going inside the paragraph and you realize that tenuto doesn't get explained there, but you still try to keep going in the paragraph. But as you keep going, the paragraph still doesn't make any sense. And so you finish the page and now you're still confused, and you read a couple more pages and you're still pretty confused. And so after a while you're like, you know what, I don't think that this subject is for me. It's kind of difficult. It has a lot of terms that I don't know. So I'm just gonna put this book down. I actually wasn't even interested in it in the first place. And so you put the book down. That's the end of you and that book's relationship. That's it. If we look at that example, we can see that the only logical reason why the person in this example put the book down was because of one word. It wasn't because of the book. It wasn't because of the subject. The subject had the words in it, but it was really the word itself that stopped the person and made the subject confusing and very, a lot too difficult, too much for the student. And so they put it down and they start reading the book, and that's the end of the relationship between the student and the subject. This is something that happens in music, not only with words like tenuto, which tenuto, before I continue, all tenuto means is, tenuto is a symbol. It's a horizontal bar that will sometimes go over musical notes to let the player know to play that note out for its full duration, and not to cut it short or quickly jump over to the next note, but to make sure that this note is held for the proper length, duration that it is supposed to be held for, and as it's written on the sheet music. Because sometimes as musicians we're playing and we don't hold down the note for as long as we should. And so tenuto reminds us to play each note for as long as we should in that song. So that's what tenuto is. Just so we don't get, we don't stop learning music because of tenuto. We don't want that to happen. So this phenomenon that happens when somebody's reading and they come past a word that they don't understand, and they eventually, after some pages or whatever the case, however long, they put the subject down and they don't look at it again. This happens not only in other subjects or with words, but also symbols, which is why I use tenuto, which is why I brought up. We all know that there is a very large number of symbols inside music. Practically everything in music is a symbol, and there's a lot more symbols in music than there are words. And even today, for me, I still come across symbols that I don't know. And I've been around for a while in music. I've been doing music for a while. A while is like over 15 years, technically speaking, okay? Technically speaking. We have a student, right? And the student is learning a new song. They're learning Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, or Twinkle Twinkle Big Star, who knows, whatever the case may be. Doesn't matter. They're learning some new song and they come past a symbol that's horizontal and it goes over the notes, and they don't know what that is. And that symbol will stop them from continuing learning the song. And if this happens again and again and again with other symbols, other notes, other things that they don't understand just on the page, then eventually, very similar and exactly the same, really, as the word and other example, they'll put the subject down and say, you know what, I'm really not into that song. And actually, I'm really not into the instrument as a whole. I really don't like music. I'm just here because it's a credit in my school program, or because my mom wants me to take music lessons because she thinks that it'd be cool if I learned the violin. And, you know, any resemblance to anybody living or dead is just a coincidence. So this is our second reason why we quit music. And you can really see that us not wanting to learn the subject after we go past a symbol or word that we don't get makes us not willing to learn the subject. And then our parents and teachers come along and they still try to force us through, and that makes us really not want to learn the subject. And so after a while, after some weeks, after some days, after some months, then we say, I want to quit. I don't want to learn saxophone anymore. I don't want to learn trumpet anymore. And so we give it up. And like I was saying, like I say in most of my videos, years down the line, when we're 67 and we go to our grandchild's concert, we're like, you know, when I was in middle school, I played the saxophone and I really shouldn't have stopped, but we stopped or we quit only because of these two main barriers right here. They're not wanting to practice, and not wanting to practice because the second reason, misunderstood words and symbols. Now, once again, I want to give the credit to where the credit is due. I don't have the book with me, but I learned this from a book called Learning How to Learn, and other books in like kind of that series where it talks about the words that you don't understand and how it affects you in your study and learning a subject. Once again, recommended book. I'm going to leave both. This is not a paid plug. I'm going to leave links to both books inside the description. So if you want to check these two out, they're very good, not only for music, but just any subject that you're learning in life. Very, very top tier. So now let's say you're doing a practice and there's not really words that you don't understand, or there are words that you don't understand, there are symbols that you don't understand in your sheet music, but you kind of just flow past them and you still want to learn the subject or the skill of music and your instrument. And there's two other barriers after that point. First of all, if you've gotten after that point, you've gotten through the point of misunderstood symbols and words, and which the only way you can really get there is truly get there is by looking them up and handling them and making sure that you understand what the word is, of course, and the symbol is. And let's say you do want to really learn the subject and you've gotten past these two barriers. Congratulations, that is a great place to be. If you are there, I commend you, because I just got there too, and it's a beautiful world. It's beautiful. What a wonderful world. You know, it's just great. But after this point, there's two barriers that I found, and that I kind of see in some players still, even after this point. The first one of these second barriers, so this would be our third barrier inside this video, would be that music, especially classical music, is too rigid. I really blame this one on my fellow music teachers. I don't know who, what, where, when, or why decided to make classical music and even other genres, to make it very something, you know, so serious. Yes, music is a very serious subject, but it doesn't need to be. And especially for beginner musicians, it shouldn't be all that serious. This is kind of one of my places of disappointment when it comes to music today. Let me sit back in my chair. Give me a second. I think music today is something that people take too seriously. A good amount of people just do music because they think that it's, you know, something that smart people do, and that if you can do it, you can play well, and you could, you know, move your fingers and boom, 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 then you're just a genius, and that's that. And I play violin, but that's not reality. People pick up instruments just because they think that, you know, if I can play the violin, then I'm better than you. But that's not the case. That's not how music should be, and that kind of just thinking about it now, thinking very loosely, I think that kind of is what produces this kind of rigidness. You have to learn this instrument so you can be, you can be a violin player. This is, I've come across a good handful, and a good handful is definitely an understatement. A good handful of musicians in my life, and you have to be a classical musician, but that's not. And classical musicians, I think this is just my take. Okay, it's just me. They have this kind of this very posh, I play classical music. For what? Like, this attitude for what? Like, why do you why do you feel this much better than everybody else just because you can play Bach? There's no, and this is me going off on a little tangent, but to bring it back, this attitude is what gives music this rigidness, because after they go back home after this, they go back home and they're playing for 8 hours, getting calluses, they're burning their fingers off, and which at the right skill level is absolutely necessary. I'm not going to say that it's not. At the right skill level or the right level of the player, 8 hours a day is absolutely necessary. With the right piece, 8 hours a day is absolutely necessary. Burning your fingers off and playing until your fingers are numb is absolutely necessary at the right skill level. What happens is that people at the skill level who want to be teachers, I'm just gonna tell it all. I'm just gonna spill all the beans in this video. People at that skill level who want to be teachers, not because they want to teach and help people to learn music and get accustomed to it. They may want to do that this much, when this much they really just need to make some money. Because they're playing 8 hours a day, burning their fingers off, and for one performance, that's once. And they're not at the national level where they can tour and go around and make money that way. See, this is I'm giving away all the this is all the value. This is it. This is all that. This is a candid, open video. I've never been so candid in a video like this before. And so, because they need to make some money, they need to handle their personal life and make sure their personal life is still going as they're doing 8 hours a day of this. They spend 30 minutes to an hour with a student, and they try to force all of this kind of rigidness, all of this advanced skill onto this new person. And they say you need to practice for an hour a day, you need to do your scales, you need to all of this. And this just beats down the excitement, the willingness, the freshness in the student to learn the violin, to learn the piano, to learn the guitar, the saxophone, whatever the case may be. Once again, I've seen this in classical music because I've spent most of my time in classical music, but I know that this exists in other genres as well. So that is a third reason. I really blame teachers for kind of having that. Yeah. No student, especially when they're beginners, should be forced to be an advanced player. If they're a beginner, they should be a beginner. And an hour a day, you can do it when you're a beginner, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's what you should be doing. When you're a beginner, you really should just be focused on enjoying and getting to know the subject, getting to know music. What is it all about? What does this mean? What does that mean? It should be a discovery. It should be a thing of discovery when you're first going into music. It should not be a thing of demands. Practice. Yes, have good posture, but keep it organic. It shouldn't be anything forced. So that's the third barrier. Your teacher is too rigid. That's number 3. But let's say you got past number 3. And after that, there's really only one more reason that I'm going to go over in this video of why we quit music. The fourth and final reason is actually probably the easiest one to overcome, the very quickest and simplest one to overcome. And it's one that you can do right now or right after this video. The fourth reason people quit music is they don't know why they're doing music in the first place. Now, when it comes to, why am I doing music and purpose in doing music, I'm not necessarily saying that everybody should want to become the greatest player that ever lived in their genre, or the greatest musician, or better than Michael Jackson, or better than Kanye West, or better than whoever the case. I think that's actually very silly. I think that it's just good to know why you're doing something. And it's good to know and look and really see, am I doing this because my parents told me to? Am I doing this because I actually want to become the greatest? Or am I doing this just because I want to have fun? 3 examples where there can be a plethora of reasons, such as I used to play and I want to play again and I really want to learn it. Or it could be I really want to play this one song that I heard on the radio. I really want to play Golden Hour. I really want to learn Golden Hour because it's one of my favorite songs and I really want to play it. All of these reasons are absolutely valid, and teachers, once again, should treat these as valid reasons. It's important to know the reason why you're picking up an instrument, because each of these reasons are different paths that a student is going to walk down. If a student actually does want to become the greatest, then he needs to walk down a certain path that will lead him to that point. He needs to look around and he needs to choose teachers, him and his parents if he is young enough. You need to choose teachers that will take him to that level of greatness. If the student just wants to learn a Bruno Mars song on piano, then the teacher or whatever kind of thing that he's learning from should be the equivalent to that goal and desire. If they just want to have fun, then once again, the teacher and whatever program, whatever YouTube tutorial, whatever book that the student is studying from should match that intensity level and that intention of the student. Because once again, you don't want a teacher that wants you to be better than Heifetz, which Heifetz is regarded as like the greatest violinist of all time, and rightfully so. He's definitely up there for sure. But students may just want to learn a song on violin, or their parents. It's always the parents, man. The parents, we got to do better, parents. Okay, we got to do better. Anyway, it's usually just the child that wants to learn how to play some song guitar, but then they get the teacher that's like, okay, so you gotta practice, and you have to, but that's not the reason why they're there. And if the teacher doesn't know why the student is there, and if the student doesn't know why the student is there, then there's just a disconnection from the jump. If the student doesn't know why they're there, and the teacher doesn't know why they're there, then there's automatically a disconnection. The teacher has one thing in mind, the student has another thing in mind, and these things just they don't match. They don't correlate. And so it's very important for us as students to really know why we're going into a subject, why we're starting up lessons, what are we trying to get from these lessons, so that and that because I know why we're doing it, then we could communicate this to our teachers and say, hey, all I really want to do is I really want to play this Beyonce song. That's all I want to learn. I'm taking singing lessons so I could sing this one Beyonce song, and that's why I'm here. Then the teacher can take that. If they're a good, honest teacher, they can take that. They can help you get to that point. They can craft something, some kind of curriculum that will help you get to that point. That's the ideal teacher. We're still trying to produce some ideal teachers out in the music industry. But yes, if you know and you can communicate that to your teacher why you're doing music, then down the line you won't get disappointed in them and in the subject, and they won't get disappointed in you because you're not showing the dedication of a student who wants to be better than Beethoven himself. So there's your fourth reason why we quit music. The fourth reason being just because we don't know why we're doing it. And all these things, all of this force from parents and force from teachers, and all the things that we're learning that we don't feel like we want to learn or need to learn, all this kind of creeps up, and then it's also so rigid from the teachers, and then we don't know why we're doing this. We don't have any drive. We don't know where we're going. We don't know what path we're taking. And so we create music. So these are our 4 reasons. Let's watch out for these as we're starting up again, because that's really my goal. I want to, with this channel, I really want to break down the things and, you know, chop it up and say, this is why we're not doing good in this area, and just give it away and, you know, throw it out and let's do good again with music. So these 4 things I watch out in my programs, and I really hope that this video was something good and beneficial. Hope it's gonna help somebody out one day. Maybe you're a student, maybe you're a teacher watching, but I really hope that this was impactful, that this was valuable to you. If you are a student and you're looking for some one-on-one help, I do offer help and lessons. If you are looking for some one-on-one help, shoot me a DM on Instagram or book a call with me on my YouTube, and I'll be happy to help. I'm here to help. And we can chop it up there. I hope to see you guys very, very soon. Have a wonderful day. Rest your day, rest your night, wherever you're watching this. Just have a good time. And once again, I hope you found it insightful. I will see you in the next video. Peace and love.